Hey there, folks. Welcome back to another part of my thing where I am making a robot Tetris announcer. I have spent the last 3 sessions trying to get a piece of code written that will recognize when a transition will occur. That is, the speed will increase, and trying to calculate how many lines away we are from that. And I kept on having issue after issue after issue. Finally, last time we got to a point where we could reliably tell starting between levels 0 and 9, but when you started at a level higher than 9, everything broke down. I couldn't find a proper um, formula. I was looking for some kind of a formula, and I had to call it a day, call it quits, and I was thinking about it today, and it made me think of something that used to happen way back in the day in the 90s when we would make 2D games using sprites, and you'd have to rotate them, and if you wanted them to move, up or down, left to right, that was easy. You could just increase or change the XY values of the sprites. um, but if you wanted them to move at an angle, you had to compute sines and cosines of angles, which was very computationally intensive back in the day. I believe the standard thing to use was some kind of variation on Newton's method, where you keep calculating the derivative over and over and over again, and you keep setting it to zero, and it's a multi-step process, and the computer has to do all sorts of gobbledygook that most people don't understand in order to get back, the sine of 14 is whatever it is. Um, and so what we used to do is, rather than compute it on the fly, we would make these 360 element arrays. And before your game would start up, your program would pre-compute all of the sines and cosines from 0 to 360. And then when you needed the sine of 14, say, in a game, uh, all you'd have to do is an array lookup, which is super fast because it's only a single multiplication. And so that was sort of how we got around to it. But, as computers got more powerful, we left that kind of thinking in the dust. Better to just have a little formula, especially when your computer can do billions and billions of things a second. Each CPU, and you probably have like 4 of them at least. So why do we even care about lookup tables? But I realize that the solution to this problem is a lookup table because, well, I wrote it out. I honestly, I wrote it all out. Here it is. Can you see that? Uh, I thought, why can't I figure this formula out? And the issue is because there's kind of a quirk in the Nintendo code that says, at level 0 through 9, everything works fine. But then once you started at level 10, your transitions are all out of whack. So we're going to actually go in and do this for real. And after we make the lookup table, it will become obvious why I couldn't come up with some kind of a neat one-liner. Yes, but the first thing we're going to do is get rid of everything we did last time, because we went off in a direction, and I'm just going to do that. What else did I do? I have game analyzer tests. Yeah, so we're going to clean all that up, and boom. Now we're back to what we were a couple of sessions ago. Let's close everything we got here, because yesterday's session didn't go very well. So we just totally got rid of the tests. We don't need the tests anymore. Let's go back to our transition analyzer. We also don't need any of this crap. Let's just take it all away, which is how we started off yesterday. But this time it's for real. This we're just going to remove for now. Okay, so here's the lookup table. It's a dictionary. It's going to be transitions, and no. It's a dictionary. It is going to be keyed on an integer, and it's going to have a nullable integer array. And this is going to be transitions. And here we go. Let's just make it. And I can't believe I haven't done this yet. Okay, so the thing is, when you start at level 0, you actually hit a transition at 10. You hit a transition at 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, and blah, 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 blah. You hit a transition at 80 and 90. You hit a transition at 100. Now you're at level 10, so you don't hit another transition until 130 lines, which is level 13. And then you hit a transition at 160 lines for level 16 speed, which is level 18 speed. There's your 19 transition, and finally there's your 29 transition. This is going to complain that it's not that. Okay, so that is what happens when you start at level 0. Starting at level 1 is actually kind of the same thing, except you don't transition at 10 anymore. You just transition these points. Okay, got it? Good. When you do 2, and again, this is going to follow the pattern. You won't transition until you hit 30 lines. Okay, and we could just keep on doing this for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This is how we do this. And okay, so if we started at 3, we transition, our first transition would take place at 40. Let's just write all these out here. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9. Okay, that's level 1. Oh, I missed 2. Okay, let's bring this in then. 2. Okay, so here at level 2, starting at level 2, our first transition will be 30. Starting at level 3, it'll be 40. Starting at level 4, 50 will be our first transition. We'll get a transition at 60 when we, you can, it's not too difficult to see the pattern. When we start at level 8, our first transition will be 90. And when we start at level 9, our first transition is 100. Okay, if you'll recall from yesterday, that is actually what we kind of did this already because we found a nice, concise formula. What I couldn't seem to get is what happens after. So level 10 is a little bit interesting because when you start at level 10, your first transition in speed doesn't, you transition at level 11 at 100 lines. Even though the pattern suggests it should be 110, it isn't. It's always 100. After level 9, everything transitions to the next level, not necessarily speed, but the next level at 100 lines. And that's what throws a wrench in the whole thing. So your first speed increase happens at level 13, because that's the other thing. Levels 10 through 12 are the same speed. So when you start at level 10, you're not actually going to get a speed increase until level 13, which happens at 120 lines. Not 130. because of the going up to level 11 at 100 lines. So 120 is actually your level 13 transition. And then your level 16 transition happens at, 30 lines later. And then 30 lines later is your level 16 transition, or 9. Your 10, that's your 13, 16, 19, and then your 29 happens at 280 lines. Okay, a little bit strange. It gets more strange, though. Because if you start at level 11, you're not going to hit transition until 110 lines. Yeah, see, this is the thing. Because at 100 lines, you're going to go up to 100, you're going to go up to level 12, and then 13 is going to be 110 lines. So even though you get your increase, your increase happens sooner starting at level 11 than level 10. It's really quite strange. Anyway, this causes all of your transitions to happen like this. So it's a lot less efficient to start at level 10 because you're going to transition to 19 speeds at only 170 lines. Okay, so when you start on 12, you might be asking why I'm using nullable ints. It's the same reason as last time. I was trying to, we're going to use first or default link queries here, which I don't want returning zeros. I want returning nulls. Nulls. Okay, so when you start at level 12, you're going to have your first transition at level 13. So this is different than levels 10 and 11. Your first speed increase is actually your very next level increase, which is 100. And then you're going to go 130. This is your level 16, or your level 19 is going to be at 160. And then your level 29 is going to be 100 lines later. So there you go. This is why it was almost impossible to come up with a nice, concise thing. Everything I did worked sometimes, but then it didn't work for other things. And then I went back and I fixed it for the other thing, and then it broke the first thing, and it was just a nightmare. Anyway, carrying this on, level 13 start, you don't actually get a speed increase until your level 16 speed. But you get to 14 at 100, you get to 15 at 110, so your first speed increase is at 120 lines. And then 150. Now this is different because your 120 is going to be your 15 speeds. This will be your 18 speeds. And after that, you only have... oh, wait a second. No, this will be your 16 speed. This is your 18 speed. Yeah, and then this is your... Yeah, this is your... Yeah, 18 transition, basically, 19 transition, and then 29 transition. Yeah. Because 13, 14, and 15 are all the same speed. So 16 is going to happen when you hit 120 lines. This will be level 19, and this will be level 29. That's right. Okay. So 14, if you started on level 14, it's kind of a similar pattern as the last three. So this will be 110, 140, and 240. And 15, I mean, that's a very, very familiar one because lots of people actually play competitively at 15. This will happen at 100 because 16 is the next time it increases. 130, of course, and 230. All right, so then 16 16 now, the first time you increase your speed is level 19, which is at 130 lines. Because 17 is at 100, 18 is at 120, 19 is... Wait a minute. 17 is at 100 lines. At 110, you're going to be at 18. 120. Wait a second. That doesn't sound right. Did I mess that up? Let me get my level speed calculator out here. Oh, right. Yeah, there's another quirk. Yeah, shoot, I forgot. There's another quirk that says yeah, when you start at 16, you don't actually go up to 17 until 110 now instead of 100. Right. Okay. So let's anyway, that puts you at 130 lines. 100 and then just 230. Those are your two transitions. And the same thing with 17 and 18. You only have two transitions, and they both happen at the same time. And then if you start at level 19, the only transition you're going to hit is at 230 lines. And I just want to make sure, because yeah, 230 lines. Now, they have extra levels here. These are for ROM hacks. You can't actually start the game, whoops, at these levels. So anyway, that's it. That's my lookup table. So this is why I couldn't figure out a nice, concise formula, because not only are your level increases happening at different times, but your speed increases don't happen concisely, because they're in groups of 3. 10 through 12 is the same speed. Everything's going to increase its speed at level 13, but that happens at really different times. So anyway, this is our lookup table. This is what we're interested in. And this is so simple that we don't even need a unit test. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, so the current game has the starting level. So var lines until transition equals, now we're going to say transitions. We're going to index it with the starting level, which is found in current game.starting level. And then we're going to say first or default, the first X that is bigger than the current number of lines. And what is going on? Oh, yes, right, because it's a lazy. So we're going to say value. Boom. So this is that's it, lines until transition. That's all you get. So if you started at 15 and you were at 105, we go, okay, we're going to go into the 15 here. We're going to find the first one that's bigger than 105. That's 30. Okay, and now lines until transition. And then we're going to subtract current lines. And that's it. 130 minus 105, 25. We're done. So let's take this here. Perfect. So that's lines until transition. Now we got to talk that. Now the thing is, it's a little difficult because if you wanted to start at 16, not 16, if you wanted to start at 9, if you started at 0, we'd be talking, you'd be constantly approaching a new transition every 10 lines. So I'm not really sure we care about that. I mean, we might want to just say, if, here, I'm referencing the lines a lot. Current lines, let's just say this. Current lines value. And I can do this. Current lines. Right, if lines until transition equals null, or we'll say if it doesn't have a value, just return from this method. I don't care. I mean, that means we're on level 29 and I'm like some superhuman. We'll say next transition. In lines, here we go. Next transition in lines. And then our lines until next transition. We're going to do this and we're going to do that. Okay, so now we have some decisions to make. We can say, if current lines is greater than 100, how about 90? How about 80? If current lines is greater than 80 and lines until next, so if you're more than 80, depending on your starting value, you're coming across a transition fairly soon. I don't want to be telling you you have a transition every 10 lines. So, let's say every time you're above 80, and we're just going to, actually here, let's start out simple. Let's get some randomness to this. We're going to pull in some randomness. So we're going to say if rnd.next double is less than, what do we want? Like 10% of the time? Sure. How about we say 10% of the time? Then we'll add to the text queue. Transition, next transition in lines until next transition lines. Here, let's do that. So 10% of the time, there's a 1 in 10 chance our robot will tell us when the next transition is. Might be too much, but let's do that. Okay, let's test this out finally. So we've rebuilt everything. That's fine. I want to make sure we're doing it. Okay, let me go to the app settings. When I'm streaming, it needs to be 2288. Okay, let's try this out. I gotta turn on my Nintendo. Turn this on. Hopefully you can still hear me. Let's see what happens. Let's also run the program because we're going to need to do that. And I would like to hear. So I'll put that in my ear. Awesome. Okay, so we're in. Let's just start at level 0 and see what happens.
New game starting at level 0. Now at level 0. Next transition in 10 lines.
Excellent. Next transition is in 10 lines. Oh man.
Next transition in 10 lines. Next transition in 10 lines. Next transition in 10 lines. Next transition in 8 lines. Next transition in 7 lines.
Perfect. Okay, I mean that's who cares?
Next transition in 3 lines.
Thanks for letting me.
Next transition in 3 lines. Next transition in 3 lines. Game is done at 757.
Okay, let's start at a level 15 start.
New game starting at level 15. Next transition in 100 lines.
Perfect.
Out of nowhere, a Tetris, 100%. What a timely Tetris that is, 100%. Next transition in 92 lines. Next transition in 92 lines. Next transition in 92 lines. Boom Tetris for D theorem, 100%. Next transition in 88 lines. Next transition in 88 lines. Next transition in 88 lines. Next transition in 87 lines. Next transition in 84 lines. Next transition in 83 lines.
Okay, that's
next
fine.
Transition in 79 lines.
79 lines.
Next transition in 79 lines.
Okay, so he works.
Game is done at 69,487.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, so I want to make him a little more realistic. So let's think about that for a minute. When you are playing and you're coming up to a transition, usually what you'd think would happen is, once you're about 20 lines away from your first major increase, he should probably say something. But then you don't want to keep saying it. So once you've said it once, you might want to just shut up. So, like, generally, I stick to 15 or 18 starts. I'd want him to start thinking about mentioning the fact that transition is coming at maybe 80 lines. So maybe let's say within 20 lines for your first one, or within 10 lines for every other one. Or maybe he's only allowed to say it once every 10 lines. Interesting. Or maybe he should say it. Yeah, let's do that. So in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to move this current state, current dot lines dot value. We're going to move this into its own, its own method just to clean this up. I guess we'll do this. Okay. Return next transition minus lines. Here, we can even fix this up. Return. If you do have a value, return this. Otherwise, return null. Okay, that's good. Okay. And then we'll say if lines until next transition doesn't have a value, just return. That's fine. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to say, let's say const int lines per update. Okay, you're only allowed to say it once every 20 lines. And that's it. I don't even... We'll see how realistic that is. Okay, so lines per update is 20. So then we'll say, private int last update in lines equals 0, whatever. That's okay. So if last update in lines minus your current lines is greater than lines per update. So if you haven't yet updated in 20 lines, Now you're allowed to update the player and tell them how many lines away from transition they are. And actually, we can take this and dump this in here. Oops. Oops. Okay. Here we go. So we're going to do this. And then if random. So once you're within 20, like 10% was like way too much. So let's say less than 0.01. Zero zero one. That's every 1,000 frames, basically, or 1,000, not frames, 1,000 screenshots. That might be too much. Let's try every 100. Then text q.add text, and we'll. All right, let's try this. And we'll start on. I want something that relatively. Let's start on. Let's start on level 3. Let's do it. Okay, I need this. Here we go.
New game starting at level 3. Wow, what a Tetris, 100%. What a timely Tetris that is, 88%. That's really amazing, 92%.
This is so slow. No. I'm not getting any updates. We're about to transition at, I think, level 40.
That's really amazing, 80%. That Tetris was a delight to witness, 83%.
Oh, you know what I didn't do? I wonder if this is going to be an issue. Yeah, now we're just watching me play level 3 speeds. You know, I'm going to top out. I didn't finish. Let's go back. Right. So my current lines is always bigger than the last time I updated. So that's my issue. Okay, so then I want to say last updated lines equals my current lines. And maybe after we transition, we should null this out. Yeah, we'll just try this.
Game is done at 26,330.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, let's do 15 start. We are going to, I want to check for the realness of the updates.
New game starting at level 15.
Not getting any updates.
Boom Tetris for D theorem.
Wonder where my update
Boom
is.
Tetris for D theorem.
I mean, it could be that that's just not enough. See, I don't really know how many times a second it actually checks. But I'm not getting any updates here.
Wow, what a Tetris.
Okay,
Game is done at 69,231.
I'm going to increase it to 10% again. Because I just want to make sure that this is actually working.
New game starting at level 15.
Yeah, I'm not getting any updates. I wonder what the problem is.
Out of nowhere, a Tetris, 100%. Wow, what a Tetris, 100%.
The laws of probability suggest that I should really have gotten some update by now. Okay, so it's not working. So that's awesome.
Game is done at 40,279.
Okay, I've added a breakpoint. And we'll run this again.
New game starting at level 15.
And my breakpoint is not being hit. I wonder what the problem is. Okay. Back here, this is what we did. It hit my breakpoint. Current lines is 2. Last update in lines is 0. Lines per update is 20. Well, of course. I'm an idiot. That's what I am. I'm an idiot. Okay. We have to get more than 20 lines.
Game is done at 1643.
Okay.
New game starting at level 15.
So let's get more than 20 lines.
That Tetris was a delight to witness, 66%.
I might not get 20 lines. That's embarrassing. There we go.
That's really amazing.
Yes, it is, isn't it? Why am I not getting updates?
What a timely Tetris that is.
Oh, come on. This is silliness. Where's my...
Wow, what a Tetris.
Yeah, but a Tetris. Ah! So here's my issue. This is my issue. I say when I get... So I'm saying I last update at my current lines, but I hadn't even updated. This is when I update. So I was, past the 20 lines. It was claiming I updated, but I didn't. So I was always in that. It was never hitting 20. Anyway, this is right. We're gonna bring this down to 10. And I want to see the 100. I'm fairly certain 100 is a pretty decent ratio. So let's go back here. We'll run this again. Okay. Let's do 18. Start.
New game starting at level 18.
So this isn't going to do anything until I hit 10 lines. So I'm going to have to actually hit 10 lines. And you know what? Just for kicks, I think I'll just top out.
Game is done at 7264.
Okay, maybe I should.
New game starting at level 15.
Oh my goodness.
That Tetris was a delight to witness.
Yes, it was. Sure. We'll do this. Oh, my word. Oh, my. Hmm. 100.
Wow, what a Tetris.
Man, 100 is not enough. What is it at right now? It is at 100. It's per update. Okay, let's try this again. I've made it 10%.
New game starting at level 15.
So once we hit, again, 10 lines, and maybe I should just give up and make that 0 lines. Oh my word. Okay, I'm at more than 100 lines, more than 10 lines. Let's go. Let's go. What is happening? So the lines until next transition is 76. Oh, you guys. Oh my goodness. I feel like an idiot. Half of software development is feeling like an idiot. Next is returns an integer. We want next double. Because next double is going to do a floating point between 0 and 1. Okay, we're going to set this to 0 lines. That means there's no restraint on the updates at all. We already did 10%, but I want to hear him talk.
New game starting at level 3.
It's because my window was.
Game is done at -1.
Yeah. Okay. Ready to start? Let's do it.
New game starting at level -1.
Interesting. I'm getting errors. The errors are saying. Oh, you know what? Okay, I'm going to top out. It incorrectly read my level as -1 because I was in between screens or something. Let's try this again.
New game starting at level -1.
Hey. No, that's not right. Why? Good.
New game starting at level 18.
Thank you. And again, all I wanted to do is to hear him talk. He should be talking.
What a timely Tetris that is, 100%. Next transition in 126 lines.
Thank you.
Next transition in 124 lines.
Thank you. So it's about.
Next transition in 119 lines.
Yeah. Okay. So he's actually talking now. That's nice to hear.
Next transition in 116 lines.
And he's annoying as anything. So if we said 20 lines per update, oops. Okay, so what I want to do in our last 4 minutes is to make him a little bit more human. Your 2 speed increases are 18. You're 18, you're 19, and I guess you're 29, but I never get there. Actually, what if we did this? What if... My thought is if we get the number of lines since we made our last transition, we get the number of lines since we made the first transition, or our next transition, we know where we are in between the transitions, right? And then maybe we can only start commenting if we're more than halfway through towards the next transition. Okay. All right. Get lines until next transition. Get lines since last transition. Last transition in lines equals transitions. Your starting level. The first one that is less than or equal to your current lines. Okay, and then we will return X, yeah. Oh, that's funky. Ooh, look at that. And this one, we're going to return your... So if you have a value, your current lines minus your last transition in lines. Otherwise, we're returning null. Okay. I'm going to comment all this out. last transition equals get lines since last transition. Next transition. What's happening? Okay, your next transition is get lines until next transition. Rename that to not be plural. All right. And actually, this doesn't have to be an integer. We could just return 0 here. There we go. Lines until next transition could be null. But since your last transition, we're just going to call 0 a transition. So then, if next transition doesn't have a value, we're gonna remove ourselves from this analyzer. We don't need to care. Otherwise, now we're going to take the difference between our next and our last. If next transition minus last transition divided by 2 plus last transition actually, what am I doing? If current current lines, we're going to grab the current lines here. Okay. Second time this video I'm doing this. Okay, so if current lines, come on. If next transition minus current lines is greater than current lines minus last transition, then if R&D next double is less than, and we can make this 0.01. Then we can add this text. Actually, let's make it 0.05. Next transition. Oh, wait a second. I don't need to do this. These are lines since. Yeah, so if next transition is less than last transition, so we have less lines until the next transition that we've had since the last transition. And every 1 in 20 times we will give this update. Let's try this. I have a good feeling about this. These become unnecessary. So that. Oh no! I didn't change over. Shoot. Sorry, folks. This is what I did. How long was I like that? I made this an integer. We're doing this get lines since, get lines until. If next is less than last, then we're doing 0.05. Okay, now we'll go back. Oh well, nobody watches this anyway. Okay, and we're gonna start on level. We're gonna start on level 2. We're gonna start on level 1. We're gonna start on level 0. Level 0. Yes.
New game starting at level 0. Now at level 0.
Did I miss it? So this shouldn't actually say anything until we get to 5 lines.
What a timely Tetris that is,
Timely
100%.
Tetris. Let's get a line here. But now I should start hearing. Now I should.
That Tetris was a delight to witness, 80%.
Now I should.
Now at level 1.
Thank you for that. I shouldn't be hearing anything now because I've just transitioned. I wonder if. We'll make this 20%. Let's just. So we should be hearing it all the time now, but it should stop. Man, I've already been at this for an hour and 8 minutes. Okay, it should stop. Just after we transition. Wait a minute, why didn't I? Oh, shoot. Because I keep forgetting to change my screen over. Okay, 1 second while I top out. Okay. Bring this over. Run this. Here we go.
New game starting at level 0.
So,
Now at level 0.
once we go past 5 lines, we should be inundated with the announcer giving us updates. And it will continue until we get to level 1, and then it will stop until we get to line 15 lines. Get ready for it.
Wow, What a Tetris, 66%.
Did I make the same mistake? No. I see, because my last transition, okay, yeah. So I need to actually, okay, I see, I see. I have to actually transition one time. And then it'll start doing, I should change that.
Now at level 1.
So now it's not going to start until I get to 15. Okay, here we go. Oh, come on.
Next transition in 2 lines.
Thank you.
Next transition in 1 lines.
Thank you.
Next transition in 1 lines.
Okay.
Next transition in 1 lines. Now at level 2.
Now it should stop talking.
Next transition in 9 lines. Next transition in 9 lines.
Interesting.
Next transition in 9 lines. Next transition in 9 lines.
This was 9, which is right. Last transition was 11. Lines since last transition. Oh! Because I'm going up. I don't want to get the first one that's less than current lines. That'll always be the first one. I want the last one. The last one. Really, I could say. No, that's right. Let's just do that. Okay. Okay. Ah, no. Stopping. Going here. One more time. Let's do this.
New game starting at level 0.
Oops.
Now at level 0.
Okay. We're at level 0. Here we go. And now it's not going to talk. Whoops. Until we get to level 1.
That's really amazing, 66%. Now at level 1.
Okay. All right. Here we go.
That's really amazing.
Still not getting updates. I'm going to get 3 lines here.
Next transition in 3 lines. Next transition in 2 lines. Next transition in 2 lines. Now at level 2.
And now he's not going to talk until we get to level, or till we get to the 25 line mark, which is a Tetris. Here we go.
Out of nowhere, a Tetris.
Please talk.
Next transition in 3 lines.
There we go.
Next transition in 3 lines. Next transition in 3 lines. Next transition in 1 lines. Now at level 3.
And he stops. And so the thing is, it's like the 20%, that's a little much.
Next transition in 4 lines.
Perfect.
Next transition in 4 lines. Next transition in 4 lines.
So I think
Next transition in 4 lines.
what we can do is go back here. From 20% down to 5%, it's still a lot. Maybe 1%. Let's see. Let's see if that'll work. Let's start at level level 5. Nope. Actually, let's just. I think we're nearing completion, so we'll just start.
Game is done at 11,763.
And we'll see if he can. Well, first of all, if I can actually get to transitions.
New game starting at level 15.
But this will be the most realistic test. Well, this is an odd shaped board. So we shouldn't hear any updates.
That's really amazing.
Until we hit 50 lines. Because transition is at 100 lines.
Out of nowhere, a Tetris.
But the thing is, I want.
What a timely Tetris that is.
It's a difficult thing because I want the updates to occur very infrequently.
Boom Tetris for D theorem. Score is now 100,551. What a timely Tetris that is. Out of nowhere, a Tetris.
Haven't heard the update yet. And I don't think I'm going to.
Game is done at 151,799.
You know what I'd like to do? See, because I don't really know how many frames I'm doing. It doesn't matter. That's going to be a number. I'm going to have to play around with this number. And figure out what's best. But anyway, I gotta call it a day. That's enough time spent on this. So anyway, thanks for joining me. We I think we did it. We just have to tweak it now. So I think we can call this a wrap for the transition analyzer. I'm not sure what's next on my plate, but yeah, I went old school. Lookup table. Okay. Thanks for joining me. Have a good day, and we'll see you next time.